What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Questions with Caleb, the show where we do a deep dive on all the things that you want to know more about. I've seen a lot of questions and comments about the newest episode of Good Morning America that they recently put out, doing an entire segment on the very first kid drag queen. No, I'm not kidding. This was actually on national television. I'm going to give my thoughts on that entire idea and the episode at the end, but there is something that I want to discuss about this segment that I haven't heard anybody else talking about, and I think can bring you guys a lot of value and kind of open up your eyes on things to know what to look for when you're watching something like this. Again, and that's the way that the media will manipulate their viewership when they're introducing an idea for the very first time that they know the audience is going to be hostile to. They have a couple of tips and tricks up their sleeve that they use kind of consistently that I think it is important for people to recognize when they see it. So we're going to break this down kind of chunk by chunk. I'm going to point out a few things. I'm not going to show the entire segment because it's like 8.5 minutes long, but I will link it in the description down below. That way you guys can see I'm not taking anything out of context or making anything look worse than it actually is. So let's go ahead and roll the first clip.
And if you haven't heard the name Desmond Napolis, get ready for this trailblazing 11-year-old drag kid who RuPaul is calling the future. His bravery is inspiring so many. We're going to talk to him in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at his amazing story.
I am Desmond. I'm 11 years old, and I like pizza, trains, and drinking root beer since it's caffeine-free.
Do you see what they did there? Aside from the two beginning clips from his parents, when the show itself begins to interview him, he is out of his dresses, doesn't have makeup on, aside from the earrings, looks like any other 11-year-old boy, listing out very specifically his favorite things like trains and caffeine-free soda, things that the average 11-year-old is absolutely going to say. They're trying to make parents feel like, oh, this is any other kid, just a normal American boy that happens to have a small, tiny little difference.
I also do drag, and I love to put on makeup, dresses, and wigs, and of course, jewelry if necessary. My full drag name is Desmond is Amazing. I feel very happy to have a mom that accepts me.
It really touches me deeply that there are other children out there that he's reaching and they're listening to him and he's influencing them to be themselves.
I'm very proud of him. I'm proud that he's found his path so early.
My greatest joy in this is just seeing Desmond happy.
I love doing drag because it makes me feel amazing and self-expressive. It just feels amazing to know that people love what I do. My one big message would be 3 words: be yourself always.
Just to make a quick side note, did you notice that when somebody was taking cell phone footage of him in the gay pride parade that they didn't show any of the surroundings really? I think even if you are on the far left, most people would agree that if you've seen footage of those gay pride parades, they're very sexual in nature. People wearing virtually nothing but thongs or pasties, a lot of sexual behavior going on, just a very sexually charged atmosphere as a whole, someplace you generally wouldn't want a kid to be. I would wonder how people would feel about him participating in the parade if all of the footage of that event would have been shown. But that's not what I want to focus on. Next, we're going to show a clip where the Desmond is coming in, but I want you to pay attention to how the audience reacts. Try to take as much time as you can to look at the faces and the reactions of everyone in the crowd as this 11-year-old boy comes out in full dress and makeup. Did something seem fishy to you about that, the way that it did me? I mean, I don't think even somebody that supports this kind of thing would try to pretend as if even 20 or 30% of America would be super excited to see their kid or another kid in this kind of situation, right? I think anybody, if they're reasonable, will say that 99% of America probably is going to feel uneasy. And even if they're not willing to voice their opinion on the topic for fear of being called a bigot, they're not going to be clapping and cheering and smiling and excited. It almost seems as if this audience was picked specifically for this episode, found people that were enthusiastic, excited, and super accepting. You don't see a single person that just kind of looks confused, as I think most people, even on the left, would be in this situation. And you may say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal is that they're very subtly and subconsciously trying to send the message that if you're not okay with this, if this makes you uncomfortable, there's something wrong with you. Because look at this room full of 100 or more people, and they're all excited for this kid. They're all accepting of his lifestyle choices. Why aren't you? Let's go on to the next clip.
World out there, and not everyone's accepting of things, and some people have criticized you. What do you say to them?
It's fine.
Well, we're all excited to have Desmond here, so thanks.
It's got some pens, it's got a little notepad. Note, I want you to journal everything that you do because you truly are very brave and courageous. And let me give you this.
Thank you guys all for being here. Desmond, your parents.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding us all to be who we are on the inside.
So did you notice the strategic words, things like brave and courageous, very much looking like they are facing the world? But the thing that really stuck out to me the most was the way that the co-host worded the question and asking what this young boy thought about people that weren't accepting. I think if you were to poll the average American, their main concern is not going to be whether they're accepting that kid or not. Their main concern is going to be, well, is that kid okay? Is something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? I don't think it's an issue of acceptance of the individual as much as a skeptical nature of what he has been through or the parents that he's living with. I mean, if any other kid in an American school entered a room the way that Desmond did, talked about himself in third person as the amazing, and wore outfits that were very unusual, do you think most people would look to celebrate them and say that they were simply being their true selves? Or would they be concerned that this was a cry for help in some way, or a sign that maybe they weren't getting the attention at home that they were wanting, or that something was off in a mental health capacity? But she frames it as if anyone that is a detractor of this situation is simply not accepting, right? Setting up the long-term argument that somehow we are bigoted and hateful if we are not comfortable with this situation or the over-sexualization of our children. So now I have a couple of questions that I want to ask someone on the left that supports this parent's decisions and Desmond's decisions. Just a couple of logistical things that I would love to have answers to in the comments section down below if you are in support of this. First, what if this kid changes his mind, right? He's only 11. We've all done things and gone through phases when we were young that didn't stick the rest of the time, right? I really enjoyed wearing matching, like, cut-off tees and shorts that were the same color with the same colored shoes when I was like 11. Right? I don't do that anymore, and I'm very thankful that there are not pictures or videos of that anywhere, right? It's going to be that much more drastic. If this kid decides that this isn't something he wants to continue in at 16, now every kid in his high school has a video that they can pass around of him in lipstick and makeup. Even if you supported this decision, why in the world would you put him on national television? You were just asking for him to be bullied for the rest of his life, right? I don't know why you would put him through that situation, right? Because the statistical majority of kids that identify as transgender when they're younger don't by the time they're 18 to 21. So you have to think that the likelihood of this kid dressing in drag now and not then is even higher than that. And you've now put him in a situation that he can never escape because the internet is forever, and if you try to get rid of something, it only comes back twice as strong. The other question that I would have for you is, how in the world, as a liberal, can you support drag queens in general? I mean, this kid is basically saying that in order to become feminine, he needs to put on this big hair and the makeup and the dresses. And obviously his situation is a little bit different because he isn't able to put in the fake boobs and the fake butt. But you look at most drag queens, they say to get in touch with their feminine side as adults, they're showing all of this cleavage and short skirts and crazy makeup. I mean, if you were to ask a man to draw what he viewed a woman was, and he drew comically large breasts, a big butt, tiny waist, hair that was out to here, and makeup that looked like it was caked on, any person on the left would say that that person was misogynistic. They would say that he was sexist and that he was drawing a caricature of the worst stereotypes that men have ever had about women. But yet the left continues to advocate for young people to view femininity in this way. It just doesn't make sense with the worldview that you hold in any other category, in any other way. That's not how you want young girls to think of themselves. So why in the world would you encourage young boys trying to dress like women to look like that? I would love genuinely to hear your answers in the comment section down below. Maybe I'm missing something, but those just seem like a few questions that really need to be answered. And in closing, I'll give my thoughts about this issue of kids in drag in general. I think it is undescribably dangerous to over-sexualize our kids. And that's exactly what is happening here. To propagate the idea that kids are just little adults, so they should be able to make whatever decisions they want. If it makes them happy, then that's what people should be doing. It should be worrying about the kid's happiness, not about the long-term well-being of that child. That is the beginning steps towards the movement of adult and child love. Now, you guys laugh, right? But 10 years ago, we were laughing at the idea that gender would not be biologically defined. And now we have a large portion of our society that is saying that you can wake up one day, feel like a woman, the next day you wake up and feel like a man. And so while I may sound like I am calling fire down from heaven, that everything is going to fall apart if we continue down this road, but mark my words, 15 years from now, if we don't stop this kind of nonsense, the fight is not going to be about transgender rights. All of a sudden, it's going to be about kids' love rights or whatever it is. I mean, there are already organizations in the United States that are advocating and lobbying government to allow adults to marry kids. This is an unfortunate realization that people are making as this slippery slope continues to go farther down. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. We have to say, as a community, as a nation, that kids are going to be off limits for this kind of stuff, that we need, if nothing else, even if you support this entire side and this entire movement, you have to say, listen, let them get to the age of 18, right? And let them make whatever decisions they're going to make at that point. But if I can't even legally drink, why in the world are you letting me parade around the street in something that I'm most likely going to regret, or something that I wouldn't necessarily want to define me later on in life? Right? The idea that these people are finding themselves at such a young age within how they dress. You wouldn't want any other kid to find their identity in what they're wearing. So why in the world would you encourage this kind of mindset early on? And that's what sticks out to me when you listen to the story of adult drag queens, is that they say that they were depressed, they were unhappy, that they didn't feel like themselves until they put on this makeup, until they put on this dress. But that breaks my heart. You never want an individual finding who they are based on the way that they look, because that will change, right? Society's standards change. And if all of a sudden you built your entire identity, your entire personhood around the way that you are presenting to the world instead of the person that you are and the character that you hold, you're going down an incredibly dangerous path. Well, that's all that I have for you guys today. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, give this video a like, and watch one of the videos at the end card. That would help us a lot. If you want to help out with everything that we're trying to accomplish here, you can check us out on patreon.com/OTKmedia. Until next time, we love you guys very much. Bye-bye.